フレンチフライジュースカリフォルニアはないんだよ。これテキサスだけだよ。ワッタバーガー美味しいかね。
美味しいよ。
マクドナルド
あるよ。
マクドナルドより
普通の倍ぐらいあるもんね。
うん。
量は。
よかったね。
余計な葉っぱとか入ってないからすごいよ。
ああ。たまにはいいよね、外食も。
すごいよ。初めてでボリューム
ちょうどよかった。腹いっぱいになった。
お腹いっぱいよ。
フレンチフライもよかった。ポテト
はまあまあだね。
あ
ちっちゃすぎちゃって。
ちっちゃいな。あれ皮ごとさ、もうちょっと太くて皮ごとやれば美味しいよね。
やっぱり目玉はハンバーグででかい。
ああ。
To ignore that call any further, I did what all my Navy friends would have never expected me to do, and felt with the beginning of the global war on terror in 2003 or so, 2001 to 2003, I felt him calling me into Army service. So with all my Navy buddies, giving me a hard time, I transitioned into Army chaplain ministry and spent the next 13 years pouring into families of people that were deploying all over the world. It was a great joy to walk with them in that time. As you alluded to, the university setting in which I serve now is 64% female. We have 36% of our students are male because, 178 years ago, the institution that I believe you work at and mine were founded on the same day, and we were servicing our female students, and you guys were taking care of our male students. And both our institutions got the other gender along the way, and we're so grateful to have, about a third of our student body to be men now. But it is a very different demographic than what I saw in military service. I have found, though, that leadership, care, and compassion transcends those gender and those institutional cultural boundaries, and it's been a wonderful transition into higher education ministry. Really, in candor, I thought that I would be serving in the military another 10 or 15 years, and everything seemed lined up for that to become reality. And then one day God interrupted my life with the president of Mary Hardin Baylor sitting next to me on an airplane ride on a day when I was emotionally feeling pretty low. I just spent 2 weeks flying all over the country and supporting families as they learned about the details related to their service members passing. I was looking for one last 29-minute flight home to be back with my wife and kids, and I had no idea God was going to introduce a relationship into my life that day. When He wasn't looking for a chaplain, I certainly wasn't looking for a job, but God was preparing me for something that I could have never expected. And in the next couple of years, He began to warm my heart to the idea of higher education ministry. And then one day, knowing I was eligible to retire but not feeling yet the call to do so, I was reading in Luke chapter 5 when Christ called some of His disciples through a supernatural fish-catching episode. And at the end of that passage in verse 11, it said, "And then they brought their boats up to land, left everything, and followed Him." And I knew that was something that all Christ followers should be ready to do, but I could hear the Holy Spirit tugging me and asking, "Jason, in your mid-40s, are you still willing to bring your boats up to the land and leave everything and follow me?" And I said, "Lord, I'm living in my 15th house, and at that time, 19 years of marriage. I'm sure, let's move somewhere else, like wherever you send." But I could hear Him asking, in it, so submitted my retirement request the next day and began a journey that ended up with my being here the last 4.5 years. And what a treat it has been to move from one set of young adults who are doing some very hard things and certainly in need of the best pastoral care we can provide them, but to a different group of young adults who are training up to be leaders in our churches and our families and our communities and our nation. And it's such a sweet gift to be able to walk that path with them.
Well, that is just amazing and so inspiring and really an unlikely journey, which I love about the stories that God writes, because he loves to write, I think, a story of an unlikely journey from Army chaplain to college chaplain. Those are so different, but I can see the parallels and the ways that God was preparing you. Now, you are also, as I said in your introduction, you're the dad of 4 boys. Now, again, I gave you more street cred than me. I had 2 girls first, Jason, and I thought I was a good mom. Turns out I was just a girl mom. And my girls, my boys are so great. They are wonderful. But when they get together, especially, their destructive powers just seem to ignite, and something is going to be broken, something's going to be blown up, and they really kept me on my toes. I'll tell you a story that I shared in my book, Behind Closed Doors, was one time they took 100 paper plates and they put them on the wall in their bedroom for Nerf gun practice with targets on them, because clearly I was a good enough mom that I left them alone long enough, to do this. And when I walked in and saw all those plates on the wall, they said, "Oh, don't worry, Mom, we didn't use tacks." And I said, "What did you use?" And they said, "Gum from their grandmother." 100. And I thought, oh my goodness gracious. So, we're just about to come up on our break, but when we come back, I do want to talk about how your career has shaped you as a parent, and if you parent each of your boys the same, or if it's different based on each child and their needs. So if you just have a little introduction here, that's a little taste of what is to come on the other side of the break. And if you listen to one of my first episodes with my producer Stephanie, I talked about the wisdom that she imparted to me as a boy mom. It is not for the faint of heart, but if anybody can do it, I think it's an Army chaplain. So when we come back, we're going to talk more with Jason Palmer about his experience as a dad, and we're also going to talk about what's going on college campuses. There's a lot of negativity towards higher education, and what are the good things that are going on that you can see. Don't go away. We'll see you after the break.
Explosive anger between family members isn't new. Neither is the antidote. 3,000 years ago, a man wrote this: "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Hi, I'm Mark Gregston with Parenting Today's Teens. That advice is from the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, is just as relevant today as it was the day it was written. When arguments and anger reign in the house, one way to fan the flames is with harsh language. What do your responses sound like? Are they quick and cutting or slow and gentle? We all mess up at times, but I'd encourage you to aim for consistent responses when things get heated. As Proverbs 15 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath.
Find more parenting help from Mark Gregston at parentingtodaysteens.org or search for Parenting Today's Teens in your favorite app store.
My father, your great-grandfather, fought in World War II.
Really?
He was a gunner on a big ship out in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
Your great-grandmother did her part, too.
Was she on a ship?
Oh, no. She stayed back home. She and a lot of her friends worked really hard in a factory because the men had gone off to war, and they held scrap metal drives to help in the war effort. The folks back home were heroes, too.
Here at the American Family Association, we consider you the heroes back home. As you fulfill your responsibility of caring for your family day to day, your partnership with us is crucial as we fight the enemies of freedom in America. Thank you for your commitment to the American Family Association.
Grandpa, what's a scrap metal drive?
Let let's get some cookies, and I'll tell you all about it.
Hello, this is Edward Graham, and I've got a great idea for you this Christmas. Through Operation Christmas Child, you can share hope with a child in need. Fill a shoebox with toys, school supplies, and hygiene items. Add your picture and an encouraging note. We'll deliver your shoebox gift to a child alongside the greatest gift of all, the good news of Jesus Christ.
あそこでだいたい5ドル60くらいでバタバーガーあったけどさ、5ドル60ドル5、6ドルだよ、今のクーポン付きで。でもオールユーキャンイートあるじゃん、チャイニーズの、あそこは11時前だったら2時前だったら8ドルちょっとだから向こうの方がいいよね。チャイニーズの方が安いよ。
6ドル、
いや8ドルくらいだもん。種類が多い。
今のハンバーグはラーメンよりはいいよ。
ラーメンよりいい、
ラーメンよりはいいよ。ボリュームがあるから。
ラーメンがだいたい6ドルくらい、6、7、8ドルくらいしてもフレンチフライとジュースとで6ドルくらいあったらハンバーガーの方がいいよね。
ハンバーグの方がいいよ。安いし。ラーメンだって高いよ。6ドル。
ラーメン高いよ。ニューヨークね、マンハッタン2人でラーメン食べていくらかかると思う？100ドルくらいだよ今。
そりゃ高すぎるよ。
How has your career shaped you as a parent? And I want to know if you parent each kid differently, or how do you base it according to their individual needs and personalities and temperament?
Well, I appreciate you giving me the chance to share on that. First, I think that you have the harder job than I, having the gender diversity in your home. With having 4 boys, my wife and I used to always joke that if you have a full pantry and decent health insurance, then you're pretty ready for having boys. We raised 4 of them. One is 21. One turned 18 yesterday, so your number about 6,574 wake-ups. Well, we're that plus 1. The 21-year-old turned it last week, so we've got 2 on the upper end, and then one that's 13, one that's 9. And I think one of the best things that Christy and I ever did was pick up a copy of James Dobson's Bringing Up Boys and just tried to help my wife get in the mind of a boy, maybe even of a husband too, and try to figure out how we're wired, what motivates us, what we're passionate about, and those things that are almost incomprehensible about a boy, and it helped her to kind of get in our minds a little bit. We just didn't know God would bless us with 3 more of them. How has my career shaped me?
牛がいるよたくさん。
I would say that through Army time, especially during the 9.
これは肉用だろうね、ビーフ。
When we had planned it, they were according to when the institution planned it. They forced Christy and I to really be on the same page, or to drive us to be on the same page about how we were going to use our roles as mom and dad, how geography played into that, and even in verbal reprimands or discipline. We said that, if you do use corporal punishment in your home, as we did, and did so sparingly, but for boys, there seemed to be some gap between a verbal reprimand or the removal of toys or privileges and any sort of corporal punishment. And so, being a good military family, we just decided that our boys could either be the most obedient or the strongest. It was their choice, and when not the most obedient, we would just give them a chance to do a few push-ups, not many, a chance just to get to build their muscles up a little bit and be reminded that we loved them tremendously and wanted better for them than they were doing at that moment. But how does that work when, as some of your listeners, I'm sure, live out, whether in the civilian world, the real world, or in a military context, how do you do those sorts of things when you're separated by miles or by alternative work schedules or other complexities? And a husband and wife just have to find a way to honor one another, to celebrate the role that the other one has, even if they're not physically present. When the kids got old enough to text and had phones, they, with all their texts, they send it to both Christy and me, regardless of where in the world I am, so that I can actively be part of that conversation. I've gotten up in the middle of the night from Iraq or
ガソリン2ドル77だよ。
sporting events live,
安くなった。
or been called in for, you know, a talking to for a kid, or even for math homework or so forth. And it's finding ways to lean in to the raising of our kids, arguably the greatest calling that we have to raise up the next generation of leaders, and to do so while we're still vocationally called to a career, but not to allow that career to get so dominant in our time management that we can't respond to the raising up of those kids. So were there a lot of things that were done the same for each boy? Yes. There was a lot of commonality in some of the systems and Bible study readings and prayer routines and spending personal time with them, even if it was just from the other side of the world in a personal video call. There was always a desire to offer a common experience. When we were rootless, except in the gospel, we were rootless geographically. We almost felt like we were hydroponic plants, if you will, where we had no soil, but we just moved wherever the military sent us. But we were rooted in the thing that mattered most, our identity in Christ. And we wanted the kids to know that no matter where they were in the world, that was something that they held in common. But it was a great deal that was personalized to the need of each kid, and they were each enjoying different passions and talents and gifts and interests at any given time. So I would have to be able to flex with the various different areas of interest that each kid had, and I know that's something that every parent listening has to some degree in their home. So yes, there was a need for common experience, and the creativity that's required to be a parent, to be able to move with those young people in their different areas and celebrate those experiences and explorations is one of the real treats of being a parent, in my view.
Well, we have a lot of common experiences there. You know, as the mom of four, we have a lot of standard processes and policies and procedures and rules and templates and just ways of doing things in our house. But I do think God created each child so wonderfully unique, and there were ways that we had to respond in kind. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned early on as a parent was not making promises at certain ages, saying, okay, you can date at 16, you can get on Instagram or whatever social media, you know, when you're this old. Because really, one kid may have been ready for that milestone at that age and another wasn't. So we just set that expectation